So good.
Welcome to the second episode of my show, Epiphanies from Edmonton. And today's guest is Ryan Lakanilau. And we are going to talk about something we both love to talk about. And I have actually chosen the title of today's discussion from one of his poems, The Ancestor's Dream. And I would like to start by reading a stanza from the poem, and then we'll move to the topics we're going to talk about today. So, the last stanza from The Ancestor's Dream by Ryan. We were raised by foragers in the wild forest of the seas and mountains. Every creature running, hiding, extending the suffering to add a new chapter, or at least a hole to peep through it, at it. So let's talk about this poem. I mean, when did you write it? And
Yeah.
the imagery, I mean, I sent it to one of my friends, and he said it's too intense in the sense that even if it's talking about something very distant, the image is kind of a distant forest or something, but it feels like too personal. And I mean, how did you come up with this image? I mean,
Yeah. This is by it's in published in the Book of Matches, issue 12, and I just came up with it at first through I think it was through doing some cut up poetry. So I had some some other words and printed out and mashed together, and then that kind of formed the basis of it. But then the idea for the topic came just because I was just thinking about, for example, one of the episodes in What's the Chismis is about people who grew up without a parent because their parent was working abroad. What's actually pretty common Filipino in the Filipino community is that if you're growing up in the Philippines, you might have one of your parents move abroad, and you don't grow up with that parent because they move abroad for better opportunities, and then they eventually bring you over potentially to that new place. And it's a lot of hardship to leave your family to start a life in a new place, and that's really hard. So when I talk about like every creature running and hiding, it's about the struggle of being alive, and how they keep the struggle going so that they can open up the next chapter, even though they don't get to enjoy it, even if they just have a hole to peep through at it. So
yeah,
yeah.
that's beautiful. And this poem kind of reminds me of the episode you were talking about as well. I listened, that was the very first episode I listened to. I mean, and the person who was talking about her mother and the distance she was feeling, both because of the space bit in between, or also there was a psychological gap because of growing up far from her. So, and
Hmm.
that was very passionate. I mean, I think this poem truly reflects that intense feeling. And now, if we talk about this kind of dream imagery, I mean, so when you were recreating it through your art, I mean, through your poetry, do you think poetry or any other kind of creative work, I mean, it functions as a very effective tool when you want to recreate an imagery which you are not actually part of it, I mean,
Hmm.
because it's not a part of your life in that sense, but you kind of carry it within yourself very naturally.
Yeah.
So how does poetry or any other kind of creative endeavor help to recreate, and in the long run you kind of learn how to reclaim something which was lost for a while.
Yeah, like the beauty of art through poetry or songwriting or anything like that is that you can be as fantastical as you want. Like this, it's perfect for relating dreams. So yeah, the poem "The Ancestor's Dream." There's a bunch of imagery in there that can't even exist. Like there's a forest of sea anemones on the ground in that poem. Like that can't even exist in real life, but because I could write about it in a poem, I could write about it in a song, and it just brings you there, and and it represents, it allows you to sit with whatever it represents. and it might represent different things to different people, but I know that for me, when I was writing it, it represented something very specific. So yeah, that's what I try to do when I'm writing songs or when I'm writing poetry, is just create a space where people can insert themselves and they can see it, however, in whatever way makes sense to them, and not necessarily even in the way that I initially wrote it. But yeah.
Yes, and in my interpretation, that is also an intergenerational journey. And I learned that you were kind of, you started writing letters to your son, kind of 104 letters, or maybe. And this is kind of, you were taking something from the past and handing over it to the future. And so you were being a person in between, a medium. So how do we do it, kind of what we lost from what was our ancestors, and we kind of lost track of it for a while, and when we reclaim and we feel that we should preserve it, and we should make sure that the next generation could feel this as well. So I mean, this is when we talk about the experience in the diaspora. I mean, how does it feel when you go back to the Filipino identity in a way that feels you reconnected again with the things you were born and brought up in Canada in a way. So
Yeah.
that's something which you, I think, you did not think of when you were a child. I mean, you kind of came up with the idea later. So I'm just interested in how did you start doing this, and especially the idea of writing letters.
Mhm.
That's very interesting. And
Yeah, letters are a big theme in a lot of my writing. That 104 letters is a story I wrote about my parents.
mm,
And the reason it's called that is because my dad wrote to my mom every week for 2 years. So that's 104 letters that he wrote to her. But and now I'm writing a book of letters to my son. And
and he is 4 years old right now,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I'm taking stories from uh what's that beeping?
Oh,
Oh, is that?
it's okay.
Yeah, I'm taking stories from my ancestors, from my parents, and from uh, the stories of the people who came before us, and relating them to my son. And that's just because I'm part of this long line of like a basically a never-ending line of you know people who came before me. And when I think about it, we really are our ancestors. Like, um, I know, like, genetically and scientifically speaking, like, we most of us is predetermined in our DNA. So like, a lot of these, there's tons of studies now where where they look at twins who have been separated at birth and find that they are similar. They're not similar to the people that they grew up with. They're similar to the person who shares their DNA. So like, a lot of who we are has been given to us through our ancestors, whether we like it or not.
So even if you were kind of born and brought up in Canada, but it did not disconnect you with your lineage, right? In any way.
Yeah, yeah. I'm still who I was always gonna be, and yeah. I mean, while you were going in there and grabbing something, a cute little bunny just ran across the field right here, and I was just like, oh, like, that bunny is so cute. And one thing about bunnies is that they had like no choice but to be born into this world and to
Mm,
want to eat plants, and now they have to run their entire lives because they're a prey animal that, like,
exactly.
and they couldn't do anything about that. That's just in their genes. That's just who they are. I think we're kind of like that too. It's like we have been destined to be a certain person, whether we like it or not. And it's interesting to kind of think about that, and to wrestle with that in writing. It's a good place to do that kind of introspection. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and you were a musician as well. I mean, and your first song, I mean, Calamansi Club, the band you were with, and the first song came on April 9th, and that was my birthday. I remember that we were at Rooster,
Mhm.
and I really loved the song. You performed it live, and later when I was listening to it, I'm steady. And the song is so, I think I could relate to it very easily because of I think it's also because of the melody, which is, and also because of the words.
Hmm.
And how did it, how did this band start? And I'm curious to know about it. And how do you work? I mean, how do you write the songs? How do you perform it? And this group, this little group, has too much to share with each other, right? I mean, you were a kind of close knit group.
Hmm.
So I'm just interested to know about this band, Calamansi Club. And
Yeah, for sure. I'm Steady, that first song that we released on Spotify right now. It's the lyrics. The whole song was written by Chema, one of the three of us, and yeah, it's about the struggles of life. So like, it's a constant theme, just like the ancestor dream is about struggles. This is about struggling through life as well. We, the three of us, got together because the singer and bassist, I didn't even know she sang back then. We collaborated on some art because she's a painter. I wrote a poem. She painted a beautiful painting, and uh, and while we were just hanging out, she told me that she had always wanted to be in a band, and I was like, okay, let's make that happen. Let's start a band. So I messaged a bunch of people, and I was like, come to the Stanley Milner recording studio. We're gonna start, we're gonna jam. And and Chema came, although I just knew her through a mutual friend. Like, so the I had only met her once before she showed up to the jam session, but it was the three of us who always showed up to every jam session. So we became the band, and now we have such a close bond with each other and such a special friendship. And it's I can't even believe that I just met her like a few months ago at Chema and Yoshinal. We just started hanging out. Like, we collaborated on that piece in 2023 at like December. So it's been like a year and a bit now. So, but yeah, there's a special bond that you have when you have a band and you're writing songs together and jamming together till like 3 a.m. or whatever. So yeah.
I think music has its own kind of way to connect people with each other, right?
Hmm.
And let's talk about the show you are going to have on June 7th. I mean, this would be the very first live performance. And when you kind of rehearse, and when you kind of you were creating new songs, I think, for you were composing new songs. So uh, what do you think? I mean, when you were together, you were kind of thematically relating to each other in a way that, for example, you said that this song was about struggle. So, and I remember the members of the audience were so moved by the lyrics and the passion that you kind of managed to transport. So this is, I think, music is that much powerful, right?
Hmm.
So do you think music is also a very effective tool if we want to kind of go back to our ancestry? We want to go back to what we kind of lost for so many things. I mean, colonialism is one thing, and there are other issues which kind of created a kind of gap, which we now want to reduce the gap as much as possible.
Hmm.
How does music help?
Well, music is kind of cool because you can play a melody and a chord progression and feel something from it without even having any lyrics at all. So it just brings in one more extra piece that can stir emotions or make you think or put you in a certain mood. And I didn't even know Yoshinel could sing when we first started. She said she wanted to be the drummer, but then when she started singing, it's like, what the hell? Like, I get instant goosebumps every time she sings. So like, even just the tone of someone's voice can give you goosebumps. It doesn't
Hmm.
even matter what words they're singing. And like, yeah, I think music is deeply connected to us somehow. Like, somewhere in the human's journey, music was very important because we're able to feel so much from it. So yeah, it's an important part of continuing to be human, is to appreciate music and feel stuff from it, and to express to express who we are and what we're feeling through it. The three of us, we have common themes. All three of us are Filipino. We have, like, you know different energies we bring. Like for me, I'm chaotic. We're the Calamansi Club. I'm chaotic Calamansi. We have cheerful Calamansi and clumsy Calamansi. So, but we bring all of it together and just
What does calamansi mean?
Calamansi is a fruit. It's a citrus fruit.
Okay.
It's like a little green sour lime. They're super cute but sour. So, um, yeah, very popular in the Philippines. So, uh, yeah, that's
And I want to share one thing about you with the audience. That I kind of came up with the idea of doing a podcast after listening to Kay's podcast. So, your What's the Chismis was a kind of inspiration for me to start mine. So I started yesterday's phone call after I listened to a few episodes of your podcast, and I really loved the way you did it. Sometimes it was very casual. I was talking about one episode, which is basically you went to a tattoo artist and the artist was doing the tattoo. I mean, and you literally could listen. Yeah, you could you literally could listen the sound of the tapping sound of it, and it was casual, but at the same time it was so, I would like to, interactive, in the sense that how did you how did you manage to do it? I mean, very instantly engage the guest, and in a way that he felt very comfortable. And this is, I think, a tip for the people like me who were planning to continue doing things like this. I mean, interviewing people,
yeah.
having their own podcast, and
Yeah, all I did is just say, "Hey, is it okay if I record this for a podcast?" He said, "Okay," and I hit record. There was no planning involved because I wasn't even planning to get a tattoo that day. He was just there, and I was like, "Ooh, that tapping technique of the tattoo is pretty cool. Can you give me a tattoo?" He's like, "All right," and I hit record, and we just started chatting. So yeah, I don't know. There's no really formula to do it. I just like
yeah,
talking
I
with
asked the
people
question
and
because
hanging out.
I always thought that I should be very prepared. I should have a studio or something of my own if I want to start this. And I was like, I'm not prepared enough to start a show. But after listening to that episode, I thought I should not worry about the things that much. I should just
Yeah.
start. I mean,
Mm.
and after listening to that episode, I decided that my show would not feel like it's a performance. It should feel like a slice of my life. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm interacting with the people I love to. I mean, love to talk to people, and I just want to bring them. I would just want to talk to them, and that should feel very natural. So thanks for
Yeah.
that. Thanks for the inspiration.
Of course.
And
Just do it. You don't need anything special. I know if you have a phone, you can have a podcast because that's all I did. I just hit record for that entire episode. It was just I've had a
yes,
couple episodes like
and
that.
but I'm also interested in the fact that sometimes in certain episodes you kind of it was very emotional sometimes, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm just worried that if something comes up like that. I mean, when you were talking about, for example, a person who is talking about the the parent who is living abroad, it might become too, I mean, traumatic sometimes, and I'm not sure whether there is a way to avoid it when it's a topic like that. But when it's unavoidable, we have to talk about it, and it's very important to talk about it. And when there is a risk that I might get also very involved and feel very, it can be very depressing sometimes, right? So I just want to know about your experience of kind of emotional experience of
Yeah.
having a conversation like that.
Yeah. There's a bunch of crying in our podcast. Yeah. The first episode, right off the bat, crying in that. Third episode, the one about the the person um who pursued the arts despite their parents, not I don't know. There's crying in that one, and then there's crying in the one that we're talking about. Did you hear she grew up without her mom? What I do is I just let the interviewee lead the way, because people have stories to tell, and sometimes they're hard stories to tell, and I don't want them to tell it unless they're ready for it and they want to, and it's all, I don't force it out of them or anything. It's just like, hey, we're talking about this topic. Do you have any stories to share? And it can come up, and as long as they're leading the way. I think it's very healthy to talk about things that are hard to talk about, and to let the emotions out, and to cry if we need to cry, and
You
and
just let it flow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just let it happen. It's just like me in real life. Like if you talk to me, you can cry in front of me, and that's okay. I might cry too. Like it's just being real, and all our stories aren't always upbeat and happy. Like a lot of our stories are kind of heartbreaking, and some of those are the most important stories to tell and to talk about and to hear. So yeah, I don't shy away from that kind of stuff, and I don't think, um, yeah, I don't think I just want to be a safe place where people can do that, and yeah, uh, I don't worry about um, them pushing it further than they can because they're in the driver's seat. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about something else. So you received a grant from Edmonton Arts Council for writing a book, and as far as I know, you were in France as well. So let's talk about this experience and
Yeah.
I mean applying for a grant and receiving
Mhm.
it, and then I mean preparing to kind of be in the project. So how did it go, and how is it going? I think it's not finished yet, right?
Yeah, it's not finished. Well, the grant is finished, but the book isn't. Um, yeah, applying for a grant is like Edmonton is great. There's lots of opportunities for arts grants. Edmonton Arts Council, for example, I applied for a grant. They gave a grant to 20%, so 1 in 5 of the applicants. So it's not like you're applying for this grant and you have like barely a shot. It's better than a dice roll. So it's very, you know, the Edmonton puts money into the arts scene, which is great. If you're working on any sort of artistic activity, you might as well apply for a grant. You just
So it's
apply
not only just painting and fiction and poetry. It's there
anything.
are other,
Yeah,
yeah, even a
anything.
filmmaker can apply for.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. Filmmaker. If you're putting on a dance show, if you're
Oh,
trying to learn a new art, you can apply to get money just to learn.
hmm,
Yeah,
that's
you could say,
interesting.
hey, I want to learn to do this dance or something. Apply for a grant and maybe they'll give it to
Okay,
you.
I didn't know
A one
about
in
it.
five chance. So, um, yeah, I just applied for it, got it. Uh, Part of the grant, it was to interview my parents and my great aunt about collecting stories. So I traveled to Lethbridge, traveled to Montana, interviewed them, and just to have like a space to write, I went to France just to be alone and to not have distractions and to write for a bit. So yeah, the grant's over. I already reported on, hey, here's what I did with the money and uh, how I worked on what I said I was going to work on. But the grant wasn't for a book. It wasn't for the finished piece. It was for the
Okay,
research that goes into it. So
okay. And now, what's your plan with the book? I mean, did you set any goal? I mean,
I should. Nothing super specific. I'm gonna try and finish it writing it hopefully this year. Then I'll try to like find somewhere to have it published. Then it might take a year or two just for it to actually be on the shelves. But yeah, it will be done in the next few years, I guess. Yeah.
okay. So we are kind of around the end of the show, but I would like to finish it with another interesting. I think we are both interested in this topic. I mean, um, the city itself, Edmonton, and you just mentioned that Edmonton has a lot of opportunities for artists or creative people, to
Mhm.
be more exact. But how did when you moved to Edmonton from Lethbridge, as far as I know? So
Yep. When I
let's
was
talk about the
19.
city. I mean, if I ask you a very general question like this, that why do you like Edmonton?
Edmonton is a city of hidden gems. You might come here and on the surface think that it's just, the West Ed Mall and White Ave or something. But it's really when you get into the community, you find that Edmonton is so special. The the festivals it has, for example,
Yeah, I met you at Litfest.
Litfest,
Yeah.
amazing. It's the biggest, if not the only, nonfiction festival in Canada. and it's an opportunity for poets and nonfiction writers to just get together and share what they're doing. Heart of the City Festival is happening this next weekend. I'm having a poetry workshop there, and the Kalman Club is also performing on the stage there. So there's lots of opportunities for artists just to get your art out there, and then, like I said, to be funded financially, and then also the community. Like, I'm part of this community uh, called EPAL. It's a community of Filipino artists here in Edmonton, and we're just so supportive of each other. Like, I go to their events, they go to our events. Like, we make sure in our group chat that we say, like, oh, this person is having this event, their art is hanging in this gallery, like, let's all go, and we just support each other. And that's also where you meet people that you can really bond with. And the arts community is so welcoming and so supportive here. There's tons of like little open mics and readings. I've been happy to like see you perform at a ton of events as well. It's just, yeah, it's a great city for arts because there's funding, there's community, there's festivals, there's events, and there's just a supportive environment. So that's why I like Edmonton.
Exactly. I think I am here to explore a lot of things, but so far I have met a good number of people. I mean, creative people and people who are genuinely interested in poetry and music and things. And I was literally feeling very lonely at the very beginning when I met you in September or October 2023, and
Yeah.
I arrived just a couple of months ago, and I was literally feeling like I'm lost somewhere far from my
Mm.
home. But when I start meeting people, going to events like Stroll of Poets, they have a session on Mondays called Poet Seven, and then I kind of recently attended a few sessions at the poetry festival, and I think this helps me to stay alive. To be frank, I mean,
Mhm.
um, otherwise it would be very difficult for me to survive here all alone. So I would like to thank Edmonton for this. So I agree with what you have said, though I am yet to explore a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks a lot for coming. And
Yeah, of
yeah,
course.
I really
Thanks for
loved the
having me on.
conversation.
I
And yeah,
appreciate it.
and I thought that I should do it with you as soon as possible because you were the person who inspired me to start a podcast and thing.
Oh,
Okay,
that's
so
amazing.
yeah,
Makes me so happy to hear that. I'm glad. I'm
yeah,
glad.
and best wishes for the show on June 7th.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think we are done.
All right.